This is our first time that we get Representative Angie Craig, who is the first lesbian mom in Congress and incredibly proud to help introduce the Equality Act, which just passed yesterday. Representative Craig, good morning.
Good morning, Stephanie. I'm so proud to be here.
Oh, I'm so proud to have you. We were so excited. I was very excited. I can only think of mean things to say to my producer, and I was so happy he booked you. I'm going to be nice to him for the rest of the week. Oh, it's Friday.
That's great. That's great.
So, listen, I'm wearing my I Resist shirt, sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, but it seems like they're all on display with our Republican friends. I mean, I don't know what to say that only in 2021, only 3 Republicans voted for the Equality Act. That's less than last time. What is happening with your Republican colleagues, do you think?
You know, it's hard to know. Well, that's not really true. It's easy to know. It's the base of the Republican Party has become far-right activists. It's the Q crowd. I mean, just look at what happened this week with Representative Newman and my colleague from across the aisle. It's really embarrassing. And if they think that's where their voters really are, they're wrong. I represent a district that's slightly Republican in Minnesota.
Right. And and that's the other thing I said at the top of the show, Representative, isn't insulting someone's children, is that something that's not partisan? It's just mean. It's just, I don't even know what to say about, with Donald Trump being gone, the sort of just meanness that we see from that side of the aisle, and racism, sexism, homophobia, racism, all the stuff we've been dealing with, right?
Well, we've seen this week. I mean, bullying trans youth in order to advance your hateful agenda, it's disgraceful. I mean, let's just back up from that, because I don't want to give my colleague across the aisle that we're talking about too much oxygen.
Yeah.
These young people already face enough adversity without hearing this kind of vitriol from a member of Congress.
Right.
I mean, look, for every person like my colleague who directs that kind of hate to these young people, we need millions of us across the country to offer our affirmation and our support to the trans community in particular. We've got to step forward and say, we see you, we love you, and we will not stop fighting for you.
Yeah. Well, I just thought we were beyond this, I guess, in 2021. I mean, you see the polling. I saw you somewhere yesterday, and I loved how you were talking about, you said, my wife and I and our children, we've created a beautiful life together. I mean, and isn't that just a human thing? I mean, I just don't know people that want to prevent people from just living and loving and creating a family with whoever they want to. It just seems like that's such a basic freedom.
Well, and it's in opposition to how many of my neighbors in a Republican district feel. Look, I did say yesterday, my wife Cheryl and I, we built this beautiful life together. We raised 4 sons who we love dearly. Together, they're between the ages of 18 and 23 now, and we're fortunate. We live in Minnesota. It's a state that has already enshrined so many of the laws of the portions of the Equality Act that would change the law. But in 27 states in this nation, you can still be denied housing because of sexual orientation or gender identity. You can, in 31 states, you can be denied access to education. So, this is personal to me. My wife and I, we're lucky to live in Minnesota. I'm incredibly grateful to represent this beautiful Minnesota district, but right now it would be entirely legal should we live somewhere else for us to be discriminated against.
Yeah. I mean, and I live here in LA, and I'm a gay woman, and I think that, it doesn't occur to me sometimes about discrimination, but that does exist in 2021 in terms of, in a lot of places. Let me tell you one degree of separation we have. You obviously passed the Equality Act yesterday, which would amend the 1964 Civil Rights Act. My dad worked on that. He was a congressman who ran with Barry Goldwater in '64, and Barry Goldwater was wrong on that, but my dad was right. He actually worked on the '64 Civil Rights Act, and he's been gone since '83, Representative. But he and Barry Goldwater has a gay grandson. This is not my dad and Goldwater's party anymore. I mean, I can only imagine what my dad would feel if his daughter could get fired or be discriminated against in housing or restaurants. I mean, it's just insane on a human level, I think.
It is, and harkening back to the 1964 Civil Rights Act, it was John Lewis who in our caucus before his death in the 116th Congress, who went to the Congressional Black Caucus and advocated for us to open up the 64 Civil Rights Act to include LGBTQ Americans. And, that was a big deal because, opening up the 64 Civil Rights Act, my colleagues across the aisle could have had all kinds of nonsense tried to pull as a result of that. But John Lewis led that charge here before his death, and I just such a
and God bless him, Representative, because we know out here in California, there's always been an effort to pit, particularly religious blacks against gay people out here when we were fighting for marriage equality, right? To try to go, well, it's being black isn't a choice. Before we get to the point where we're like, well, being gay isn't either, and right. You're right, it is a beautiful thing John Lewis did, right?
Well, it is, and the opposition tried that line of attack in Minnesota in 2012 when Republicans put an amendment that would have outlawed same-sex marriage on the ballot, and we fought it with love. I mean, that was it. We fought it with this idea that every single one of us should have the opportunity to love someone else, to make a commitment to them, that our values, our shared values, are the same. And look, people have been using religion and God through the years to make the case that black folks shouldn't be allowed to eat in a restaurant or ride on a bus.
Right.
We yesterday, it was so much nonsense on the House floor, but in the end, we passed it again. And I was so proud to be up on the Speaker's dais and gavel it home.
Yeah. This isn't a sincere question. I'm really trying to understand, I don't know, the thinking of your colleagues on the other side, because this, again, seems like such a no-brainer in 2021, the Equality Act. But so Republican Representative Andy Biggs railed against the legislation, saying it would be a devastating attack on humanity. Kevin McCarthy said the Equality Act is just part of an onslaught against freedom from the Biden administration. Please help me understand. I hate to use the term drama queens, but I mean, what is their actual objection? What do they think? I don't understand what even any of that means. How is it an attack on humanity or an onslaught against freedom?
Well, it just goes back to the way in which they are threatened. The idea that if you give anyone else the rights that you have, somehow you're losing something, which of course is just nonsense. Our nation was founded on the promise that all are created equal and worthy of dignity and respect. But if we give it to somebody else, you're not losing anything. And it was the same kind of nonsense when we were going through marriage equality in Minnesota in 2013, which we actually passed through our state legislature. And my marriage to my wife, by the way, in California, on Redondo Beach in 2008, hasn't done anything to take away from my neighbors. In fact, it's just strengthened our community to have our love and our commitment and our activity in raising our sons in our Minnesota community. So it's nonsense. I mean, it's homophobia, it's transphobia. That's what it is, and we got to call it what it is. And I mean, all these Democrats got up talking about their grandchildren being trans, or their children, or their parents being gay or lesbian. It's like, do we think Republicans don't have those members of their family? Of course they do.
Right. Redondo Beach is nice. I'm sorry I missed that. Damn. I wish I knew you sooner. I make a delightful flower girl. I just want you to know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Listen, before you go, I know you're very busy. They say we have to let you go, but thank you for COVID relief. That's going to pass today probably, right?
We're going to get that done. We are very excited, and we're going to leave the $15 in our bill. It is really important that we move the minimum wage up in this nation. So I'm really looking forward to that. We'll be working into the night this evening.
What do you think the chances are on that, or the ways that we could maybe get that done? I mean, I know Ron Klain has said there isn't a chance that Vice President will overrule the parliamentarian, but what are our options?
Well, we're going to have to look at other mechanisms to getting it done. Obviously, for us in the House, it's important that it's in the bill as we get the bill across the finish line. I understand it's unlikely to happen through this mechanism, which is sort of ridiculous given that Republicans were able to lower taxes on the top 5% through this same process reconciliation. So, look, we're going to be looking at every avenue to raise the minimum wage in this country, and and pull 27 million Americans out of poverty.
Yeah, about time. Representative, what a pleasure. I hope you will come back often.
Well, it is such a pleasure to be here, Stephanie. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Representative Angie Craig, first time on the Stephanie Miller Show. Thanks so much.
Awesome.